Hello and welcome to MalMakes. Today we're going to be doing a painting based on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate World of Light. This is the full version. If you're interested in the time-lapse, you can click on the card here. Otherwise, let's get started. First up, this video will be spoiling the end battle for World of Light, so if you don't want to be spoiled, go watch a different painting video of mine or something. Second, if you're interested in seeing me play through that, I don't think the video will be out by the time this one comes out, but when it does come out, there'll be a link for a card and a link in the description so you can watch me and Steven play through that over on Steven Plays. But I really loved the end battle for this game. I thought it was really cool the way they brought everything together, everything leading up to it, the duality of the battle. It was all really well done and I really enjoyed it. So I wanted to bring some of that chaos and that duality to this piece. So I started sketching it out really roughly, and I kind of liked the roughness of the background I had done. So I thought it would be cool to kind of keep the far background and then the bodies of both of them still kind of abstract. And I thought a good way to do that would be by finger painting it. Now, safety first, because I'm using artist acrylic, I will be wearing gloves, but I'm going to fill in all of that background with my fingers. Once that's done, I can start to add in the orb here and then the eyeball with a paintbrush and making sure it's highly detailed, textured, value, all of that. I'm not sure exactly how I want to do the stage yet, but I'm currently leaning towards making it the same as the eyeball and the orb. Very detailed, very textured, filled in on top of everything else, to kind of give the duality of the craziness in the background and the abstractness of that with the highly detailed, realistic part in the foreground. So the first thing I want to do is work on my far background. Everything behind their bodies, there's like two sides because of course there is. There's some clouds on the right and just some like darkness on the left. So I'm going to add some of those colors to my palette and then we'll start applying paint. On the left side, it's hard to see what's going on behind Dharkon, just because of all of like the snaky parts of the body really kind of hide what's behind it. But on the right side, it's a little bit easier. You kind of have this horizon with some clouds up top and some clouds on the bottom. So I think I'm going to actually do the same thing over here, but in some darker red colors. And I decided to kind of make these backgrounds a little more desaturated so they're not so many bright colors to contrast with everything else. So I have kind of this magenta-y color, and then I also added a little bit more blue to it, so I have it in kind of more of a magenta and more of a blue. And then I desaturated it with some yellows and greens just so it wasn't so bright. And I'm going to kind of use both of these colors to bring in more of like a light horizon here, and then some bigger clouds here, and then some faraway clouds up top. I did the first layer for the left side and very quickly I realized I didn't have enough paint on my palette. So I kind of just filled everything in and tried to stretch the paint as far as I could to kind of block all the colors in. That way I don't have a whole lot to fill in on this next round. But I re-blocked in the middle line and my horizon line and started to draw in some of the details where I want them to go. Like some of these clouds in here and then some of these sun rays from here. Now that that's done, I can remix up the colors, making sure I have enough this time, and just kind of follow my chalk lines to build in some of this other detail. I ended up doing 2 coats on the left side. I did the first one and I ran out of paint, but I kind of tried to stretch the paint to make it go far enough. But because of that, it allowed me to do the first one, kind of see where things were, and then I was able to kind of draw in these clouds and figure out exactly where things were going to go. I'm going to do the same over here. I've mixed up some gold colors and I've desaturated them with some violet because violet's opposite yellow, just to kind of make a nice variety of them here. I've gone ahead and drawn in kind of the base idea of where things are going on this side, and I'm going to go ahead and just finger paint these gold colors in here too. really like how the contrasting colors kind of came together here. There's a few things I want to touch up on the darker side. For example, kind of the part where these two meet here on the left side, I didn't quite bring it far enough. And I really like how the sky turned out up here, and I kind of want to bring some of the variety of colors that I have here onto this side and also kind of lighten it up in the process. So I'm just going to use some more of my lighter colors and then just kind of retouch this top portion over here. I took my chalk pastel and blocked in kind of where I want all of the bodies and stage to go. It's not perfect because I'm going to kind of make it up as I go for each of the bodies, but I kind of wanted to see how big they are, how much room they're taking up. I wanted to figure out where the eyeball and the orb are on the canvas, and they're not exact yet, but these little dots are kind of the centerpiece of each one of those. And I'm starting on the left because I'm right-handed and I don't want my arm to get in any paint over here, and I'm going to be filling in Dharkon's body first with the color. Now it has a lot of black and dark versions of all of my colors, but I want to get the color in first and put the black on top. So I have a light blue violet, a light violet, and then kind of a light magenta color that just has a little bit of violet in it, just so it's a little bit more closer to these than it is to an orange red. So I'm going to use these first and kind of start to bring in parts of the body here. Once I have the color down, I'm just going to take a little bit of black with those colors and just kind of shade the center part of it, just because it's kind of wrapped like all of these vines here on the canvas. I filled in all of the color base for Dharkon. Now it's kind of like color but with black wrapped around it, so I'm going to very carefully kind of go along the edges and then across some of the color parts to hide parts of it. I'm not going to go completely over all the color because I do want to see some showing through. Once I'm done with the solid Mars black that I add on top, I'm going to mix up kind of a lighter Mars black with some white and just kind of do some highlights on some areas just to give it some definition. Having got this far, I have 3 things you should consider when finding gloves to do a finger painting with acrylic. First, you want to have a glove that fits your hand. Some of these I was doing with a large size glove, and I found that I really needed something that fit my hand well. Otherwise, there was just too much of the vinyl here at the fingertips, and I really had no control over what I was doing on the canvas. So I found some small gloves, and those have definitely worked a lot better for me. The second tip is to wear 2 gloves. So I have 2 here on my right hand. I found that sometimes when I'm really scrubbing at the canvas, the glove will break, and then there's one underneath to still protect my fingertips. So that's been very helpful. And the third thing is to try and find some that are non-powder, because the powder will get into your paint and kind of make everything look dusty. So try and avoid that. Also, I have a latex allergy, so I'm using vinyl gloves, but vinyl or nitrile or latex, if you can go with those, work really well for this. I've put the gold down for Galeem just to kind of give a little bit of a highlight where the light is hitting it. And now I'm going to start to add in the blues and the reds and the violets. So on my palette, I've mixed up a good variety of it, and I'm going to start with kind of this deepest blue here towards the top of this one, and then work my way into the violets and then into the pinks as I get this way. And I'm just going to kind of keep rotating through all of those colors as I fill in the rest of these feathers. I filled in my gradient from blue all the way over into yellow, and I want to kind of give it some of the detail that it has in game, which is kind of this cloudy texture on top. So I'm just taking each of my colors with a little bit of white and just kind of adding it in here randomly just to kind of give it that texture. I decided I really want the stage to stand out from the background, the same with these other two parts. So I'm going to be using a paintbrush on everything remaining just to make it very crisp and very sharp lines here on the canvas. So I figured out exactly where I want the orb and the eyeball to go, kind of by guessing exactly where it should look like it should go, and then measuring to make sure both were at the same spot on each side of the canvas. Once I had these two little dots drawn in, I drew a circle the size I wanted this to be, lined it up with this hole in the middle with that dot I drew, and then traced around the circle on both sides. That way it's the same on both sides of the canvas. I'm going to mark those in with liquid white just to kind of fill it in solid first, and then I can start to add detail after that. But while that's drying, I can go ahead and sketch in the stage and then fill that in with a liquid paint too. It's taken quite a few tries to get this right down here, but once I was happy with it, I marked it in black just to make sure I didn't accidentally erase something with my hand. Now, while all that black is drying, I'm working on both the orbs. On the Dharkon side, it's an eyeball, and I started with white and kind of went into a darker blue and then into a slightly violet on the very edge. Once that's dry, I can add in the iris and the pupil in the middle, and then also the pieces that kind of hold it there on Dharkon's body. But for now, I'm letting that dry. In the meantime, I'm moving over to Galeem, and I'm using some white to fill in first to kind of basically get this wet, so that when I start to add in some of the yellow to make it a little bit more gold, it will blend into the white and end up being a very light yellow. I I filled in Galeem's orb with mostly white but with a little bit of yellow just to give it a little bit of variation throughout the entire piece. I found the center by doing the same thing over here with the template, just marking that hole in the back that I made. And I also drew out a bigger circle, putting a hole in the center of this one too, so I could kind of figure out where the glow of the orb is. Now I'm taking some glazing liquid with a little bit of yellowish orange, and I'm just going to kind of fill in this space here so it looks like it's glowing. I filled in a base gray for all of the parts of the stage you can stand on. Now it's very flat, so I need to add some value to it. I think I'm going to start lighter in the center and get dark towards these wings, and then these platforms are all kind of the same gray, and just to kind of vary it up, I might add a little bit of value to those too, some darker grays and some lighter grays. I'm moving on over to the last part of Dharkon. All of these pieces that kind of hold the eye there are all the same sorts of colors of the body. So I'm just going to take some of those same colors and fill in these kind of triangle shape-esque things I drew around the eyeball, and just using some black to kind of add shadows just like I did for the body, but with a paintbrush. I drew in the details for each of the smaller platforms in chalk, and then I used a white liquid to kind of fill that in. Now I'm going to be adding some light grayish blue on top of that for the neon parts of it, and I also did kind of the side parts here. I'm kind of treating the light source like it's somewhere up here, so all of the tops are lighter, and so this top is going to be light too, but I used a liquid white to fill it in, and at some point I'll just make it a lighter gray. I took some different elements from the top of the stage. The center part is black, and then the outer part here is kind of this dusty peach color. So I started by mixing a red-orange and then adding some light gray into it until I was happy with the color I got. And I'm just going to use a little bit of that color in some glazing liquid, and I'm going to go over everything that I have that's white down here. Just like I did with this blue-gray color, I'm going to do the same down here, but with this dusty peach. And we're done! We have the final battle from World of Light. If you're interested in this piece, you could buy a poster or a phone case, or bid on this original canvas. There's links down below. Also, consider supporting me on Patreon. You can find out more at supportmal.com. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes of MalMakes, and I'll see you again here for another video game painting.